I don't know why we didn't have why we didn't have cameras for a second there, but hello everybody.
Hello. Hi. Yes.
I'm Zach, and I'm here as always with Arash.
Yes, sir. The other voice on this channel.
Yep, and yeah, we just wanted to have a conversation about the latest episode of Daredevil Born Again.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was quite a it was actually quite an eventful episode. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like I was like, oh man, they're doing the lawyer stuff like they weren't really focusing on in She-Hulk,
Hmm.
but then they went full regalia with it, so that was
Well,
good.
I'm gonna disagree. I think She-Hulk did have a lot of the lawyer aspects. It just wasn't taken as seriously. I do think the idea that every episode was a case was something I really liked about that show, and I
Hmm.
wanted to see it carried over into Daredevil Born Again, and I'm glad that we're doing that instead of just having one case last the entire season.
Oh yeah, like in season 2, where it was just Punisher's case the whole thing.
Yeah, or with season 1, I think it was like 2 or 3 cases, but they weren't really central to the plot, to the narrative. And here we're getting like a lot of the Matt Murdock court stuff, and I think the later half of the season is going to be more of the Daredevil superhero action stuff.
Oh yeah, they're definitely saving all the daredeviling all over people for the end. I kind of noticed that too. There was not one single fight in this entire episode.
I was totally okay with that though, because I did think that the human drama was so worth it. In my opinion,
Mhm.
really liked everything they did with Hector Ayala. Like that character, I wasn't too sure about in episode 2. I was like, he's kind of cool, but this episode he got to shine.
A little bit disappointed that we couldn't see him and Daredevil team up to beat down some people, but
I agree.
uh,
I do
that
think
was
this
that was
is
part of the tragedy.
yeah, I think this is part of getting Ava Ayala in there because she is the white tiger that a lot of modern audiences are more familiar with because of Ultimate Spider-Man specifically.
I did see her in that one. Yeah,
Yeah, that's how a lot
yeah,
of
with
people are
Drake Bell
familiar
as
with
Spider-Man.
White Tiger as a character. But we've got something in the chat. Do you think Miles Morales is going to have a live action appearance in the MCU at some point? Also, how do you think a Daredevil and Spider-Man team up could happen? I think we're definitely going to see Miles Morales in the MCU in the next 10 years. I don't know if
Hmm.
it'll happen by Spider Man 5. That sounds so weird to say out loud. Spider Man
Yeah,
5. Um, I think it could happen by the end of this next trilogy with Peter Parker, though. I don't think they'll kill Peter Parker off. I think they're probably going to just have him retire for a little bit, let Tom Holland go do whatever else he wants to do. Kind of what he was supposed to do right now in the aftermath of No Way Home until he came back. But yeah, I think that's kind of what they're leaning towards. And then we can come back later on. We have an older Miles Morales, we have Peter Parker ready to rejoin as Spider Man, and that's what I would like to see. What about you?
I'd um, I'd definitely like to see him kind of do the whole passing of the torch. I don't know if we're gonna get. Are we getting another trilogy? Did they confirm that, or is it just one movie at a time with Tom?
It's like loosely confirmed that it's going to be a trilogy.
Okay, so if they
I don't.
decide to do a trilogy, like it makes more sense that they would probably establish Miles' character in the movie after this one, and then let him and Peter kind of do like a Spider-Man 2 like video game thing where they're working together, and then ultimately Peter just kind of either dies or decides to retire.
Yeah, that's kind of my ideal scenario is where I don't think Peter Parker should die
No.
because they'll bring him back anyways. That's my main
Hmm.
idea. I knew that was going to happen when they were doing Superior Spider-Man and everything. But as far as a Daredevil and Spider-Man team up, it would have to be done in a Spider-Man movie because
Oh yeah.
Sony is not going to play nice with that. They're like, you
No.
could have Spider-Man for the Avengers. You could even have him for Civil War because that was kind of an Avengers movie, but he cannot be in your movie if Daredevil is the main draw to the movie. It would have to be Spider-Man and Daredevil, not Daredevil and Spider-Man.
There's that very strict, he can't be in any shows over 30 minutes.
Yeah,
That rule. He can't do it.
that's the TV rule. But
Yep.
what as far as this episode of the show and Miles Morales being mentioned, we already one of the things that I was seeing quite a bit this morning, late last night, were people getting really excited about Officer Morales getting name dropped.
Yeah.
And I already did a video about it, but that whole situation, like Morales, I think I said it in the video. If not, I left a comment. It's the 63rd most common last name in the United States. If you Google Officer Morales, NYPD, there are several people currently currently as New York police officers with the last name Morales. I don't think they were trying to hint at anything here. It would be cool. I just don't think that's what's going on.
Maybe a wink. Maybe a wink at best, but I don't think they were going to be like, well, you got Officer Morales. He's going to show up in the last episode, and then we're going to show off Miles in the next movie. That's not what's happening here.
Yeah,
that is definitely going to be like a end game. Like, let's get past this phase first before we start planting the seeds for Miles.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my big thing with Miles Morales. I don't know if you remember, like 2016, right around Civil War, where when Marvel was talking about doing their own, when they got the rights to put Spider-Man in the MCU, there was a bunch of people who said it should be Miles Morales because we were so worn out on Peter Parker. And my argument for that is really, like, the Miles Morales story doesn't make sense without Peter Parker there first. He has to lay the groundwork. Into the Spider-Verse worked because it was a pre-established Spider-Man that we were jumping into. If the MCU did that, there would be a lot of questions. Like, hey, if Spider-Man existed the entire time, why wasn't he with the Avengers?
Where was he?
Yeah, where was he?
Yeah, where was he? Was he there at the Battle of New York? Was he? Because they quickly explained it in the movie. Oh, he probably got his powers within the last few weeks. He was there during Iron Man 2 as a kid. That was him. They confirmed that. But I definitely think, yeah, you're right. There has to be established Peter Parker for him to pass the torch on to Miles, because their stories are so deeply intertwined. If you just have Miles, well, there's a giant chunk of the story missing. And also, a lot of people would be pissed that you couldn't see another Peter Parker. Like, a lot of people love Peter Parker so much.
Yeah, and I think that's another character very similar to that, in my opinion, is Venom. You need Spider-Man to have Venom for the Venom story to work, which is a big part of why those movies don't work, in my opinion. Because Venom is just, he's goofy mid-90s Venom right away. He doesn't have, like, that dark symbiote storyline. But as far as Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I think there's just a lot more they can do with his character before we jump over to Miles Morales.
We got another one. Should they make a movie of a team of the street level side of heroes, Daredevil, Spider-Man, Punisher, and others? If you're meaning like basically another pseudo Defenders, I imagine we're gonna see some version of that in Daredevil season 2. I think, didn't they say that like a lot of those casts are gonna return?
That's kind of the rumor right now. We do have that Punisher special presentation that's coming out next year, but I think what we're looking for there is for them to expand outside of like the Jessica Jones and Iron Fist, and kind of going to more of the well-established heroes that we have in that universe. Like, for example, Punisher. Punisher doesn't really work in a team up unless he has to team up with other characters, because superheroes in the Marvel universe don't like the Punisher. Like, they all just think he's a crazy, violent psychopath.
I mean, yeah, he's kind of delivering justice in his own way, where a lot of these people are very of the mindset, hey, I don't like your methods, and he's like, well, my methods aren't meant to please you, that kind of deal. If you want to see more, I guess the fight between him and Daredevil on that rooftop, which is like peak season 2, by the way, that was an amazing scene, kind of explains his character down to a team, why other characters probably aren't too keen on him.
Yeah, and I do think something like that will happen. I made a video about it forever ago, and I was talking about the Ultimate Spider-Man comics earlier today. There's a
Hmm.
storyline in there where it's Shang-Chi, Moon Knight, Daredevil, Spider-Man, and they're all going up against the Kingpin. And I think an idea like that in a movie would be really cool. Like, I would like to see all of those characters interacting. Again, a street level Spider-Man movie. But let's go back to this episode of Daredevil Born Again because
Hmm.
a lot happened in it. Like some
Yeah.
really cool things happened and some really I don't know how to word it. Some really upsetting things happened.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a setup episode, from my point of view. But there is a lot. First off, Matt exposing White Tiger's just secret identity, like to the jury, kind of not a cool move from a vigilante standpoint there, but he needed to
Very
do
on
it to
brand
save
for
the
Matt
case.
Murdock though. Like that is
Yeah,
straight out of the comics something he would do. It
because it's he needed to do it because otherwise he couldn't level the this guy's actually better for the community than you realize card, which won him the
exactly. He
case.
won that case, but also he kind of gave him the death sentence at that point.
Yeah, of course. That the main rule in the Marvel universe is the reason why people hide their identities is because the villains in the Marvel universe will not hesitate to go after their loved ones or them directly. That's why Peter
Ex-
Parker does it.
yeah, that is exactly
Yeah.
right. I
Tony
completely
Stark
agree
can
with
have
you.
Tony Stark can afford like security. People like no random mugger can just like walk into the Stark building. He'll get like escorted out by like a team of like executives. Thor doesn't need private security. None of the high tier Avengers really needed that.
Well, they're
People like Peter
government level
Parker who
too.
have aunts, yeah,
The
exactly.
Captain America was a public figure before he was a superhero.
Rebel says, Zach, you're kind of quiet.
Yeah, I just tried to fix that. Let me know if that's a lot better.
I can hear you crystal clear, but I don't know.
I'm
But
just trying
where
to
were we
make it
going with
so
this?
I don't get reverb going on, but I've been
Right.
keeping an eye on that. So
K-
uh
k-
better, cool.
is it cool? Can we talk about Wilson Fisk and Vanessa's like marriage counseling?
Yeah, what aspect of it?
I think that it's interesting that he was so obsessed with her, and now he's like in this vulnerable stage. This guy who's like, I don't know if he was the one who put out that hit on White Tiger at the end. Maybe,
It really seems
definitely.
like it.
That little sinister speech he had at the end where he's just like it was a miscarriage of justice that needs to be corrected or something like that. You know, he's the mayor of the city. He probably has a sector of the corrupt cops who are just like, hey, go out and establish order. um I definitely think that he probably did it, but we're gonna figure that out.
Well, here's my justification of this. I don't think he's in control of the Punisher police gang. I don't think that
Mhm.
that is where we're going here. Uh, and there's that scene earlier on where the one of his assistants is meeting up with the guys from the something a lot of people were overlooking in the episode was the opening action, the two guys
Mhm.
delivering the truck and then getting shot.
Yeah.
Were I don't know if they're directly working for Kingpin. It really
No, I don't
it
think so
seems like
either.
it's framed that way, but are they working for Vanessa? Are they working for some other third secret party?
That it definitely seems like I don't think that Fisk is ultimately going to be like the ultimate big bad. There's definitely going to be a side antagonist. They just have not revealed yet at some point.
Well, because the big part of Echo, and I needed to be reminded of this, is that she kind of takes him to face his trauma head on at the end of the show. And
Hmm.
that's where he leaves. He decides, like, oh, I'm going to become something more. I'm going to be the mayor of New York City.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if there, because there's that conversation in the diner between him and Matt Murdock where he talks about how difficult it is coming to terms with a violent nature. And this is like I'm getting hints of maybe he is kind of reformed, but also that violent nature is kind of trying to break out because that's who he is in the same way that's who Matt Murdock is.
Yeah, and that's the setup with his fight with the police chief where he tried to. Well, you can see there's still tinges of the mob boss still in Wilson
Well, I'm
Fisk.
wondering
Remember when
if
he showed him like that? Yeah,
yes. I and
that
here's
child.
my thing with that. I'm wondering if that was just like for the audience, like, hey, look, look, the Kingpin is back, and then they kind of reveal like, oh wait, no, he's just revealing the fact that he has a secret family. Like, yes, he that is something a mob boss would do, but it's also something a politician would do.
Oh, absolutely. It's something a celebrity would do.
Yeah, it's even like the whole mob boss aspect of it, especially if we're looking at it from that lens. It's framed as if he's going to put a hit out on his family, and then it's revealed where it's like, you know what? They keep playing with my expectations about what Kingpin's role is here. And I'm wondering how we're going to see that continue to develop.
hmm I'm also like, the thing is, seeing a villain reformed in the MCU, like not the Loki way, but definitely Fisk, where you're just like, I can't quite trust him, but I know he's like, he says he's reformed, but there's still that guy in there that like took some guy's head off with a car door. With a guy like that, you can't really, like trust him. He was the main bad guy for 3 seasons. You think he's gonna let that go that easy? Probably
He was
not.
the
But
main bad
also,
guy of 3 seasons of Daredevil. Well, not three. He wasn't really the bad guy in season two. It was alluded to that he was still kind of like pulling the
pulling the strings.
strings from within the prison, but also Hawkeye, Echo. He's not a good guy. Even Vanessa is like she is a. I'm wondering if she's a corrupted character or if she is a character who was always malicious and was using Wilson Fisk for that power grab. Because at the end of season three, one thing that I took away from it is that she kind of seemed very disinterested with him and really wanted him to lean back into being the kingpin.
hmm
So where does that leave us for this season, where she's in charge, and where are we going to go from here?
I imagine that she's gonna try to break him out of it in some way. I think that's part of the marriage counseling. Like they didn't just establish that and be like, oh, they need to get back to a healthy place, start loving each other, maybe go on a vacation in Cabo somewhere, re-spark the spark. They were previously running a criminal empire, and Vanessa was running it while Fisk was like off doing other things. And
So
then he came back and he's like, "We're not gonna do this anymore." Like,
yeah, and that was another thing that this was a theory I saw was somebody talking about how he was just released from prison. He showed up again in Hawkeye post blip, and how are we going to justify him getting out of prison and now being reformed, running for mayor? Is it going to be revealed that the blip or the snap rather halted any kind of life sentences? Do you think that's going to be revealed at some point?
that's interesting because they have not referenced any of that so far. They haven't.
They haven't, but it's
Uh,
been a theory since Endgame, I want to say.
I think that if we're talking in the broad scheme of the MCU, it definitely seems like Fisk or somebody like disappeared. Vanessa probably took over in his stead in the power vacuum, or he was there. He was doing his thing, just quietly. Maybe after like what Matt did to him and threatened to like take Vanessa to jail or something like that. God, it really is because they never said anything like where were they, what were they doing for those 5 years. They didn't even say if Matt got snapped. Like they have not revealed anybody who's gotten like blipped or snapped or whatever.
This is something that's going to be explained by the end of the season, I think. We are going to
I
get
hope
that
so.
information at some point. But right now
hmm
we had to deal with other issues. We have to deal with Matt Murdock becoming Daredevil again, and we had to deal with the main through line of this episode, which was Hector Ayala's trial. Which, whoa, that Like, what a good. I love a good courtroom drama. So
I
this was
do.
like
Yeah.
right up my alley. What a good episode, though.
Hmm.
What did you
It was
think
pretty good.
about? Yeah, what did you think about the? I sent you a screenshot of it, but somebody made a comment about how they're just kind of blowing past the fact that Matt Murdock beat a couple police officers pretty severely.
Well, so if we're going back to that, they did kind of brush over it a little bit, but that wasn't the main focus. That's more of a setup because of the Punisher cops. Like, why were they there to question the guy anyway? Like, did they have a warrant? Why was Matt there? They didn't bring him in for no reason. Of course, like I forget in that scene, did they attack him first or
Did they attack Matt?
yeah, did they attack Matt
They put a
first or
gun
no?
up to his head and then he snapped
Okay,
it
so
out.
then
Yeah.
he's got the self defense plea, so I don't necessarily think that they want to go that way
But
unless Matt
also
called the cops to on those cops.
they can't they were breaking and entering though. That's the thing. He was
Mhm.
invited into that room. They were there to execute the witness, which
Yeah.
is where I think they're going with this identity, like, because we don't see the identity of the shooter at the end of the episode.
Mm.
So it could be any of those cops. I wonder if they're just going to do a blanket, like, there's a Punisher out there and we don't know who he is, and how could you either? Like kind of swapping around the identity of who is going to act violently.
I never thought about that where someone else could be wearing that Punisher. I just thought it was one of the cops,
Well,
and they
no,
were like
it's
trying to throw it on,
definitely.
be like,
I
did Punisher turn
definitely
heel?
think it's one of the cops, but I'm saying like in that first episode or in the second episode, I'm sorry, they break in there, but they're completely like they're in their cop uniforms and everything.
Mhm.
And are they going to just kind of use the Punisher as like a scapegoat at this point? Because there's nobody, as far as we know, was wearing like the skull and crossbones, or not skull and crossbones, but just the skull
Yeah, nobody we know.
until the end of the last episode.
Hmm. I because we see Frank show up in the trailer. We see him. We know he's in there. Him and Daredevil are probably gonna mess around. So as soon as Matt figures out there's like a skull logo, he's going right to Frank, and he's like, "What's going on?" And then that's
Well, he
where
knows
I
already.
think we're gonna get the answer. He knows already about the
He
Punisher
felt
cops.
the tattoo.
He could feel the ink on the.
Yeah, that's one of Daredevil's abilities. That's one of his abilities. Is that he
Didn't
can
know that. I
feel
thought.
like a piece of paper or some kind of like, because it's all touch based. The
Okay,
skin would feel
I'll give you
different if it
that.
was tattooed.
This this guy could see without actually seeing. I mean, I know that's his power, but like still like on flat piece of paper. Come on, like he has to have one of the things of actually being blind where he can't like see written
Well,
words.
no, but that is an aspect because if you were to if you were to close your eyes and feel a piece of
Okay.
paper that I printed, you would be able to
Uh-huh.
tell where the ink is.
Slightly, yes.
Yeah, his senses are enhanced, so he would be able to tell exactly what is on that page.
Okay, I'll give you that.
It,
Um,
especially if it's like shapes. Like if it was a skull, he could tell. He knows right away that's what it is. However, does he know about the other cop with the neck tattoo?
can't feel the guy's neck. Can't feel the guy's neck. Cannot feel that guy's
Exactly.
neck. Although
Yeah.
that would have been a very awkward scene where he's just like, "Hey, just let me touch your neck a little bit."
Did you get a little excited when when they were going to get the witness? I don't remember his name. I'm trying to remember it. But when they're going to get him and they show the outside of the building and you see the Punisher skull on it.
I did not see that bit.
You didn't
No,
notice
I
that? It
didn't.
was giant.
I didn't notice that.
It was a giant Punisher skull and it said triggered across the top of it.
Oh God, they're doing that. Oh no. they're doing the thin blue line stuff, which I mean I get it, but
I mean, it's something they kind of have to address before they fully bring Punisher back. Do you remember a couple years ago when they changed the Punisher's emblem and everything?
what did they change it to?
It was just a different type of skull, but they changed it because of the association. Punisher new logo.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah,
Yeah,
check it out.
it's like closer to. I don't know what that is supposed to be, but I everybody was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't really work out, and I know they brought it back, but
He looks like it. Is this the one where he's like wearing a Ronin samurai looking thing? Like it's got like horns, or
uh,
no?
yeah, that's it. Yeah, the white
Okay.
skull with the horns.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I see it. Interesting.
Yeah, and I know they've reverted to it since then, but also I think like, do you know about the who else has been the Punisher in the comics?
Who else?
Rhodey.
Really?
Yeah,
Rhodey?
Rhodey was like a War Machine Punisher variant.
Okay. Did he have like a similar backstory, or did
No,
he?
no, no. This was Rhodey just taking over the mantle of being the. I'm sorry. Maybe it was the Punisher who was War Machine. I
Okay.
think that's what it was. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I mean, yeah, it does. It generally makes a little bit more sense
Okay,
there.
yeah,
Um.
yes, that is correct.
do
But
you do you remember that big continuity error that I showed you this morning with the giant
yes,
flower
I was
boss?
gonna wait for you to bring that up.
I wanted to bring it up because you and me, we're film nerds. We watch a lot of that, and that's the kind of stuff where we're just like, oh man, that coffee cup should not be in that fantasy setting. That's some dog shit right there. But seeing
Well,
that,
it's
I saw it on Reddit,
yeah.
and for anyone who doesn't know, or anyone who hasn't noticed that, because you guys are not in me and Zach's private direct messages, um, the scene in which Vanessa and Fisk are talking to each other, and Fisk is monologuing about something, and you notice him talking down to Vanessa straight down from the table, and then they cut to a side shot, and there's like a giant flower vase that was not in the previous shot, like at all. And I sent it to Zach this morning. I said, "Big fat continuity error." I knew he'd do
And
it.
yeah, one of those production issues that just kind of happens in there.
Slips through the cracks, You just don't notice a giant vase of flowers like in the middle of a shot. But I still think, from a filmmaker's point of view, they were like taking the bet that not a lot of people would give a fuck because the shot in which Fisk was talking to Vanessa would have been slightly obscured by the flower vase. So they cut that out and then just put it in and said, "Oh, it's a little lower. You can't really see it over Vincent D'Onofrio's giant shoulders and head."
Yeah, it's also just like continuity errors like that slip through the cracks all the time. Some of the best movies of all time have continuity errors like that. And
Hmm.
it's inevitable. You get in the editing room and you're not going to go back for reshoots just because somebody was holding a cup in one shot and wasn't in the next.
Yeah, fuck.
But
Well, that stuff I don't really
let's go back
focus
to
on.
the main plot of the story of the episode. Hector
Hmm.
Ayala's trial. Lots of really
Okay.
great performances. I liked the misdirect. I kind of knew they were going to do it, where they bring the key witness, whose name I was gonna look up, and then I forgot I was doing that. Where they have what's his name? Jeez, I'm like so new with so many of these characters that they've just reintroduced. The private investigator,
Hmm.
where he goes to Nikki Torres. That's the name of the key witness. He goes to pick up Nikki Torres for the trial. The cops get wind of it, and you're just like, oh, the plan's gone. Plan's over. But I was just kind of like, I was tipped off. I was like, no, you know what? They did this exact same thing in the Netflix show. He's learned from here. This is a teachable moment. And what do you know? They misdirect you. And I don't think we see that cop again for the rest of the episode, which is
No, we
really
don't. We don't.
really weird that they didn't bring him back, given the revelation that Hector was White Tiger.
Yeah. No, they didn't bring him back. But then they kind of like fully pivoted into, you're White Tiger. You mean something for this city. And then they just like, I'm gonna be honest. I did enjoy the back and forth between what is it called, Matt and the other lawyer
Oh
and the
yeah,
judge,
yeah, that was
where
good.
they're just like, we know what you're fucking doing, and we can't do anything about it because you already explained. Oh, he's White Tiger. Damn, we can't. We could say that's thrown out in evidence, but that doesn't matter. Which is a really sneaky lawyer thing to do from Matt, but you know,
It
he's a really
was,
good
and
lawyer.
it was very Matt Murdock, because it's like this is the only way you can recover at this point because your key witness won't talk. But I'm
Mhm.
wondering, because he definitely saw the Nikki Torres definitely saw that Punisher tattoo on one of the cops. So
Yeah.
what's going on in the city right now to the criminals that Matt's unaware of, with involving the Punisher, and we're going to see that come into play in next episode. I guarantee it. Are we going
Hmm.
to see? Is Kingpin setting up certain people to be killed by Punisher copycats? Is he trying to inspire some kind of revolution from the citizens of New York? Because it already seems like they're pretty much on his side about the vigilantes.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you with the false flag operation. It definitely seems like he's just kind of, if he is behind the Punisher stuff, if he is slightly behind the Punisher tattoos, like having people commit crimes in that visage and then just being like, see, these people are just going around shooting random people. Like, we can't trust them anymore.
Yeah,
They're even killing themselves.
how can you tell who's good and who's bad if they're all wearing masks, basically? And
Exactly.
and that
Yeah.
was a big point of the other lawyer's defense, was basically, am I a good person just because I've done a couple good things? Like, what makes me a good person? And the jury proves that lawyer wrong by saying, like, yes, this guy, he does some incredible things. It doesn't make sense for him to just murder a couple police officers for no reason. But will the opinion change after his death is uncovered for everybody?
That bit that I definitely think they're going to use that in the next episode. Matt's going to be fucking devastated when he hears the news. Uh but I definitely think that what was up during the trial with the lawyers like defense about like getting hit by the train and then popping like a balloon when they back up. I'm like, are you just trying to like paint a bad image in everyone's head that he pushed him in
Oh
front
yeah,
of a train
yeah.
and he
That's
exploded?
exactly what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
It was that defense of, like, you know what, this person didn't just die. I'm going to talk you through exactly what they experienced, because this guy was, an upstanding citizen for his community. This is what he
Yeah.
went through. This is why you should not let this murderer get off with this.
And then they let the murderer get off with
Well,
it.
that's exactly the thing, though, because, like, what,
Mhm.
and you were talking about it in a video last week. What separates the Avengers, like the larger heroes from the Marvel Universe, from these pretty much ordinary people just trying to stop petty criminals, muggings, robberies, murders?
Yeah.
What separates
I
them
don't
from
see
that?
I don't see Doctor Strange going off and stopping a stabbing at a sandwich stand. I don't think I'm necessarily going to see unless he's there ordering a sandwich for him and Wong. I don't necessarily see Doctor Strange going in there and stopping anything or up on the rooftops late at night listening out for like cries of help. I don't see him doing that at all. That's not his corner. He's the
Yeah,
master of the mystic arts. He's gonna pop up whenever there's like an ancient wizard doing some weird funky bullshit. Um, that's Daredevil's territory. Daredevil's
yeah.
territory is that.
So another thing I was wondering about. So we have White Tiger just get shot
Hmm.
in the head. Like, there was that moment, and I was having, like, I was feeling during that the end of the court case when they're reading
Yeah.
through all the charges and saying not guilty. I was just like, yeah, I love this. I'm so excited because that means we're gonna get more White Tiger, and then just
Mhm.
bam,
Bam.
like
Yep.
that was brutal because, well, first of all, one thing we didn't talk about yet, the actor Camar de los Reyes passed away sadly, like right
Yeah.
in the middle of filming. I think it was during the actor strike of 2023.
Do you think they rewrote? No. No, they would need his. No, no. I was
I
gonna say, do you think they rewrote it like around his death to like make it so that his character dies off on screen? But I was like, no, because then you'd need him to act out that scene. That's just stupid.
Well, so what I was wondering is because the show was reworked after
Hmm.
his passing. So how much of it was changed though? Like was White Tiger originally going to play a larger role in the show?
Yeah, I think definitely he was probably gonna have a fist fight or two, but I feel like in that rework, we're gonna see this later because we got next week's episode, then the double episode the week after, so something big's gonna happen there.
I'm guessing
I think
that's going to be the Punisher episode.
that's definitely the Punisher. I think next week's episode is gonna be Matt putting back on the suit because he
Which
saw what happened to White Tiger. And he's got to suit up. He's gonna be like, "All right, this is some vigilante stuff. I can't tackle this as a lawyer anymore."
which I predicted that was going to be this episode. And you know what? I that was my prediction. I'm not disappointed that it didn't happen though.
Yeah, of course. Also,
But
you need like first 3 episodes of Matt kind of still going through his "I can't be Daredevil" thing, but also there's 9 episodes, so we're already a third of the way through. So,
well,
yeah,
one of the other things I was thinking about was they talk a lot about the mystical amulet, right?
right.
He gets shot while he's wearing it. So what does the mystical amulet exactly do? Because he
They
doesn't
paid
see that
attention
guy
to it.
coming.
They paid attention to the mystical amulet. Does it just enhance his speed? Not enough to dodge a gunshot, apparently. Does it give him better strength? I mean, you could argue yes. Uh, should I just look that up? Is that like look upable, or did they
Yeah, you
change
should.
that? Hold on.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna get an MCU specific answer, but I believe
No.
you're probably in the right ballpark there, saying yeah, it enhances strength and speed. However, like a guy does just kind of like jump out and shoot him, and he doesn't even notice. And I'm just like, well, what exactly? Like this guy wasn't going to take on like the Avengers. But what were his what were his strengths here? Like what was his success rate when he went out fighting crime?
Yeah, was he just kick-assing it? Was he, what was he doing? Let me
I
look
do
up.
get the
So
vibe
it's
that
giving me the history.
he was like coming home like bruised and cut up and everything like that. Kind of like Batmaning it a bit, or even
Okay.
Daredevil. He is just human, and the White Tiger amulet, he says, was like an inheritance. It is who he
Okay, so
is.
so when using the White Tiger amulet, this is from the Marvel database, by the way. I'm using this. This is probably straight from the comics.
It's probably from one of my like volumes
Mhm.
of books over
millions
here.
of volumes. You could look it up, but I just grabbed it here. So while using the White Tiger amulet, his abilities included enhanced strength, enhanced speed, enhanced durability, enhanced agility, enhanced stamina, acceleration, healing, and enhanced senses. And his abilities also include martial arts, and he's also bilingual. I
I
mean,
guess
that's
the
just
enhanced senses, that is the only thing I would be like, how
okay.
enhanced were they? Because somebody pulled a gun out and just shot you point blank and you didn't even notice.
He can see with greater clarity and greater distances than any ordinary human. Hector's vision extends into the ultraviolet and infrared areas of the electromagnetic spectrum, allowing him to see in near total darkness and retain the same level of clarity. Hector's hearing is similarly enhanced, enabling him to detect sound humans can't and sounds that ordinarily could, but at a much greater distances. He can also track a target by scent and track them to the exact location.
So that's what I'm gonna guess they're gonna they're gonna nerf a little bit from the comics. There is the enhanced senses. It'll probably
Yeah.
be like, yeah, he can see a little bit further. He has some form of like night vision, I suppose.
Hmm.
But in that instance, he wasn't able to like smell the guy, hear him coming. He doesn't have like a spider sense, essentially.
Yeah, because if you look at another guy who's got all of these, pretty much the same power set except for accelerated healing, I don't think that Matt has that. Anyway, he could dodge Bullseye's like random targeted attacks, almost. So I don't think he's got that there. So he doesn't exactly match Matt. He's a little bit near him, but
Well,
also he got
that's
caught
kind
by
of
surprise. He got jumped.
yeah, yeah. He did get jumped, but the thing is, if that was Matt, his enhanced hearing would have heard the heartbeat of the person, would have heard them breathing. So we've
Hmm.
just got to assume he's like much like lower scale than he was from the comics.
If they wanted to make it a little bit more tragic, they should have had him not wearing his amulet at home. Kind of just say, if you expose somebody, then, but we'll see what happens. He also had accelerated healing, especially effective by placing the amulets on the wounded area of the body. He's able to heal broken bones, torn muscles, several gunshot and knife wounds, and other severe injuries within moments. I don't know if that can
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
work for a
When
bullet
you
to
get
the
shot
head.
in the head, that's you're pretty done
You're
unless you
pretty,
get the
yeah.
unless you get the kingpin surgery.
Or Wolverine's healing factor.
Oh yeah, yeah, that too. But you'd
Remember, there
have to
there
have
are
that ahead of
characters who
time.
have survived that. Yeah, and I don't think that's in Hector's wheelhouse there necessarily. So yeah, no, with the amulet, it makes us doubt. Like, all right, he got shot in the street just randomly, like brained in the middle of like a random alleyway. Uh, so you can jump him by surprise, and they did call attention to the fact that the amulet is like he wasn't wearing it. Like, okay, he was wearing it then. He should have been able to like sideswipe the guy and stop the gun and disarm him, right?
Well, I'm starting to wonder about that. Like he wasn't
Mhm.
wearing the amulet, and I think that was a show of like, oh, like he did that be out of the goodness of his heart. He wasn't like driven
Uh-huh.
by anything in that moment. But I
Right.
do think, we are going to see Ava Ayala in the near future at this point. I think
Yeah.
that's almost a guarantee. They mention his sister during the court case. His family has been living with her. So I'm assuming that happened a block away from where they live. She's
Yeah.
going to be introduced soon. And I keep seeing like everybody with the same dumb fan cast. Everybody's like, it's Jenna Ortega. Like, yes, because she's the hot new uh actor of Latina descent
Hmm.
since then. Since like she is the it girl currently. And it's like, no, this is a low budget TV show. She's kind of
It'd be great.
she would be great, but I do think they'll probably get somebody else.
Yeah, they definitely will get someone else.
And you know what? Whoever they
Um,
get, it's gonna be fine. But everybody always jumps to like, oh, it's going to be this person, this person who looks like them, and it's like, there's more to casting than that.
let's see. Did you hear that the actor who played White Tiger died the same way as Chadwick Boseman
I did see
from
that. Yeah,
Techno Studs? Yeah.
that is
Damn.
very upsetting.
Damn, guys. I guess, well,
Very
if you're in here.
very prolific TV actor too.
Yeah.
He was
Pretty
on like
prolific.
he was on one of the daytime soap operas for like a couple decades.
He was
And
also
like
Raul Menendez.
a lot of people like to talk down on shows like that, but it's a paying job. And when you're on it for that long, like you have to have some talent cuz those shows shoot like every day. That is a consistent gig you have there.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Consistent acting work. That's good. It means that they also don't like for those shows too. They'll kill off characters like it's nothing. Like it's Game of Thrones almost.
Exactly. Probably worse than Game of Thrones. But
Oh God, yeah.
do you have any other anything you wanted to add about this episode, or did we kind of cover everything?
I think we covered everything from the trial to the gangsters up front to what Fisk is learning into to Ayala's getting shot and what his amulet meant. I think we pretty much covered everything,
Oh,
honestly.
one thing I wanted to ask you about is, did you notice there's a little bit of a rivalry between Michael Gandolfini and the campaign leader for Fisk?
No, I didn't notice that.
So when Fisk demands to have another interview with BB Urich,
Hmm.
he's like the contact for that. And the campaign manager is just like, but I can get you in touch with like the New York Times. And he's just like, no, it doesn't matter. And then he walks away, and the two of them look at each other, and he gives like a very sinister like smile.
Yeah, I noticed. He definitely wants to handle like the on the street folks because I think that's where he thinks his power is the most
Well, like
versus like a New York Times thing, like a standard politician.
yeah, it's very much like, you know what? This is what the people will listen to. This is what I should
Hmm.
do.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about that earlier in the stream. We're not unlisting this or anything. We're gonna leave it up. Um, it's definitely one of the cops, but my theory is that it's going to be like a rotating group of them. We're never gonna know who's wearing the skull when they're wearing it. And it is exactly like I said when we were watching it. It's the Rorschach thing from the Watchmen TV show.
Yeah, it's the fringe group that's like spurred on
Yeah.
by like a higher power.
Yep, that's the other thing. It's taken from the comics. I just like that comparison of like these people are just completely deranged, and yeah, this is going to be a wild season. We're only 3 episodes in, too.
Honestly, I think they're cooking with this show. Yeah, I agree
I
with you,
agree.
Techno
Yeah.
Studs. They pretty
But
good
in terms of the episodes, how would you rank them?
as of right now.
Yeah, just as far as
I
the episodes that have come out.
I would give it so the first episode was pretty sick. Purely because of that fight at the beginning and also like Matt and Fisk's like as he's rise to power is. I enjoyed that a lot, so I'll put that at the top. It would be this Hector Ayala's episode, because like the stakes are now like jumping up a little bit more that we're seeing. And then the third would be the second episode, because I kind of can't recall much of what happened in the episode other than it's a lot of setup, the cheesesteak stuff, and Matt beating up those two Punisher cops at the end and then screaming his head off
I will
because he
say
has to
that
be like, ah.
that fight at the end of episode 2. I agree with you as far as the rankings go, I think.
Mhm.
Purely because I think that first episode has a lot of style to it compared
Yeah,
to and I was talking about this in one of my videos. The just every part of it feels so well thought out compared to episode 2 does feel a lot more like TV oriented, like shot reverse shot. Episode 3 is a lot of that, but also I think there is a really beautiful shot where Matt is alone in the courtroom, and the lighting of the scene is just really well done. It looks like a church. And
because he can't go back inside one.
yeah, exactly. And that's what
Mhm.
I think is a really interesting aspect right now, is that like he's so far away from who he was, and how is he going to come back to where he was. So yeah, my ranking is 1 is still the best episode, 3 right below that, 2 last, but definitely not because I disliked it. I just don't think, like you said, there wasn't as much that happened in that episode. It was a lot of setup for this episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any predictions for next episode? I know before we talked a little bit about we think he's definitely going to put the mask back on next episode.
Yeah, that's the end stinger. That's going to be what the Hector being shot in the face is for, but for the next episode, it's going to be him in that shot in the trailer where he goes back into his like little Daredevil cave and he sees all his like
I was just about to
outfits.
say, quote me on this. The next episode is going to end with that shot of all of the cowls.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta go, I gotta do it. So the entire episode is basically gonna be him wrestling with Ayala's getting shot, trying to figure out who it is. He'll figure out who it is or who his lead is gonna be, and then it's gonna be him suiting up to go pursue that person in episode 5 and 6.
Well, what I'm wondering, maybe. Okay, this is my thought. So in the trailer, when he confronts Frank Castle, he's not in
Yeah.
costume.
hmm
Do you think maybe that could happen next episode? Because if you really think about it, most of what we've seen in the trailers, we've already seen in the show.
Right.
So
Oh yeah.
do you think maybe next episode is when we get Frank Castle comes back? You know, Matt does the investigation thing. We end with the Daredevil cowl stinger. And then the 2 episodes we get the next week is going to be Daredevil and the Punisher teaming up.
I think that's what it's gonna be. I think that's gonna be the cool part.
It's the 2 episodes together makes me think there's going to be like a mid-season trailer.
Yeah, where some crazy thing drops episode 5, and then episode 6, they need to complete it because there is going to be such a cliffhanger, and you need to tell that across like a 2-hour span.
Yeah, and I can't tell if I'm more excited for next week or the week after that, though. The 2 episodes releasing together is, I was kind of hesitant for it at first because it means we have less weeks of this. And this is my favorite aspect of the show. I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, you only don't want them to binge it because you get to make more content over a long period of time. That's part of it. Yeah, I like being able to make content about it for as we go on. But also, I like the stretching out. I like the discussion. I like having a week to digest what we just watched.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that, or are you more binge format?
No, I agree with it. I agree with it because it gives you something to look forward to every week.
Yeah, and
You know,
because you have Invincible and the boys, they both follow that release strategy for the most part. I think there's the first week they drop like 2 or 3 episodes of those shows. Fallout, I was really upset that they dropped all the episodes at once because that was a really great show and I wanted to digest it more as it went on. I just think shows they do better and they spread way faster when they have a release schedule like that. Whereas a week from now, you talk to somebody and you're like, oh, you should watch this. And they're like, oh, okay, I will. And then it's buried underneath whatever the new streaming show is. And it's like, oh, I should watch that instead.
For me, it definitely, because with Fallout, I'm going to be honest, I have not watched the last 2 episodes because they released all of them in one go. And then I'm building through it. I'm getting through it, but I kind of lose interest.
You tire yourself out on it. It's too much all at once. It's like when you play a game. It's like, you want to play a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't want to sit down and then by the end of the game, like 12 hours later, I'm only like 10% done with the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I want to be able to digest it at a good pace. I don't want to burn myself out on it.
Yeah, I also don't want to. I have to go back and watch those last 2 episodes of Fallout, but because exactly. I got burnt out on it, and then I just lost interest, and now I can't go back to it. But with the one episode a week, you get a full 40 hours or full however many hours are in a week. I'm not gonna look it up. I said 40 hours because that's a work week, but there's other hours in the week where you're not working. Anyway, you get a whole week to just basically absorb that episode and be like, okay, cool. Then there's the next one. Then there's the next one. Then there's the next one at like good bites. So that you're eating it as it comes along. So it's easier that you can track.
But I also love the discussion behind it. I love being able to see people rewatching it, or some people don't have the time to watch it the day it comes out, or even the next couple of days when it comes out. Life gets busy, and you have people who are just kind of missing out on it. And I think what Daredevil Born Again is doing right now, what most of the prior Marvel shows have done, is the way to do it. I like being able to digest this at a reasonable pace, and I hope it's something they continue with. I don't want to be able to binge it.
Exactly. And don't do that, like, release one every day, like What If Season 3 did, where, I'm gonna be honest, that show just, like, nothing. I didn't even pick it up. I didn't even watch it, to be honest with you.
No, I watched it, but just because I've still watched almost everything, everything in the MCU aside from, like, the ABC and Freeform stuff. I haven't really watched that.
Didn't even see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I watched the
No,
I
it's
watched
okay.
the
I didn't
first
either.
half of the first season of Agents of Shield, but that show became so, like, Monster of the Week. I need to go back and give it another try because I know the fans of that show really love it.
We got some comments over here that I thought were pretty great. Hearing the how do you say the bird's name or the frog's name? I'm gonna screw it up.
Hold on one second. OBS is having issues, I think. Let me just
Yeah, I
make
see the
sure.
stream's like,
Is it working now?
yes, looks like it is.
Yep, it's reconnected. Go ahead.
Okay, so if only they binge released it. I think we already answered that one. Hearing the Koki sounds, I'm pretty sure I butchered whatever he said there. Beach during the credit was insane. Clash of Clans giant.
that was brutal. That was
It was
I was
bad.
like, this is so good. Like, this is the perfect, like, way to cap off that character and that actor's career, really.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely on a relaxing beach of Puerto Rico. Cause, oh, there's Frankie in the back. Hey, buddy. Let's see. Arcane did it very well. I'm assuming they're talking about releasing everything all at once because that's Netflix's usual bag.
Well, no, I
Put in
think with Arcane they did it like weekly, or like they had 6 episodes and then they did a weekly for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really catch up on Arcane, but it's cool that Netflix is changing up their release style.
Well, even
Although
with
I don't know if they're going to
the
do the
last
same
season
thing.
of Stranger Things, they did like a volume 1 and volume 2 thing, which I think, like, something like that works.
Does Frank C know that Matt is Daredevil?
I don't think so.
I don't think so
He
either.
knows
I think
who Matt
maybe he's going
Murdock
to go
is
there.
because he
He
did he
defended him?
represent him?
Or was he the prosecutor? No, Matt's definitely a public defender, so he probably defended him.
Well, Karen was also involved in that too.
Yeah.
Oh, Punisher, in the Punisher series, I think Karen Page shows up in one episode. Yeah, Matt did represent Frank. Thank you. Who
40
is
hours
Adam,
is
though?
crazy.
I don't know who Adam is yet, because the only Adam I know from Marvel is Adam Warlock, and I feel like it's definitely not him.
Nope, he's deep in space somewhere with a raccoon in a tree defending like planets and stuff.
I'm wondering if it's just going to be... Watch it. You know what I think would be really funny?
What?
If it's Ben Affleck. I could see Vanessa smashing Adam Warlock also. It's just like the pieces of making that happen are a little...
Yeah, you gotta... you gotta reach out. You gotta... Like, maybe if somehow somebody knows of Peter Quill being in Tennessee on Earth at the time and having him return to the Guardians HQ and being like, hey, Adam, you gotta help out in like this one world that you probably never heard of, but I'm from, and help with this specific case. Like, there's so many characters disconnected from each other that jumping from one to the other is wild work.
I agree.
I mean, hell,
was the girl sitting in court Ava? No, it wasn't. That was Hector's daughter, whose name is Angela. She was also White Tiger, but I don't think we're going to do her as White Tiger. I think they're going to go straight to Ava.
Adam Warlock on a jury would go hard.
He's just...
I mean, that's probably...
You know, a lot of people give James Gunn crap because he writes, like, the lovable idiot so well. I don't
Hmm.
mind it though.
I don't mind it either. Everyone loves one.
He does it just so well that it's like I can't be upset with it. Or like the
Nope.
idea like he writes the same characters in every team, and it's like nah, they're different enough.
I also enjoy all of them, so I'm not gonna say no to the same characters. I mean, Creature Commandos was different enough. Like those characters are all monsters.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But
In ways.
I think that's everything we have to talk about this week.
Yeah.
I'm excited for next week. I can't wait to see what happens. I wonder if because did you see on Twitter right before the episode they released the title, which the title of the episode was I just had it and I forgot it already. Um, it was the thing Matt's girlfriend says to him at the end of the episode, though.
Uh,
I love how
Something about God.
it was shit. I can't fucking find it now. Somebody just give us the episode name, please. No, not
Somebody,
it was
please.
during the toast to Foggy, but
The
Born
hand
Again,
of the hollow of his hand.
the hollow of
No,
his
wait,
hand.
that's
Yeah,
episode.
that was
That was
some.
episode 3.
Yeah, that's what she said to Matt.
No, I mean like that. That was the title of episode 3.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. She says it to Matt though, and they
Oh.
revealed the episode right beforehand. But they did
Oh.
that with like, I want to say it was with like an actual like picture taken in New York City of a white tiger sticker on like a pole somewhere, like a telephone pole.
It's interesting that Jeffrey Nachmanoff is doing episode 4 and episode 5, but episode 5 and 6 are being released together, and David Boyd is directing episode 6.
Well, one thing I did notice is, I just realized what Jeffrey Nachmanoff made. He made the movie Replicas with Keanu Reeves. It's a
Yeah.
bad movie. Um, but I think what's even weirder is that we don't have a release date for the last 3 episodes. Do you think maybe Marvel wasn't too sure if they would continue the weekly release or if we're just going to get like a 3 episode season finale?
I think we're gonna still get it weekly. I think they just haven't dropped that or episodes. No, because if they did the episode 6 and then just said we'll show you off the rest in a couple of months from now,
No, I'm not saying a couple
that's
months
bad.
from now. I'm just saying like if instead of it being a weekly release for the last 3 episodes, they're like, okay, last day of the season, we're dropping all the episodes right now. Like a big 3 hour event.
That might be insane.
I
But
don't
it
think
would have
Foggy
to be
is that,
for
by
a
the way.
story reason.
I didn't put that out there. I'm pretty sure Foggy is just in witness protection.
He might be because Ben is out there and someone was trying to kill him.
Well, not that. I think it's there's a lot of evidence about it in the comics. The issue number of where Foggy is revealed to be in witness protection when he was supposed to be dead is the same number as the address of Nelson, Murdoch, and Page.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty big indicator. But I think that's going to do it for tonight. We gave our predictions. We talked about our thoughts on the episode, where we think everything could go. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, not necessarily. I'm excited for episode 4 and to finally see Daredevil. Daredevil in his costume and Punisher to show up. I want to see them fight together.
I know they're going to fight together. And I'm excited to see where the White Tiger storyline goes from here, too. But thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you, guys.
We'll probably do the same thing next week. We're going to give a little bit more warning, though.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.